Thank you. I'm Betuwashte. I'm Ato Utaka Machiapi. And I want to say good morning, Representative Elsie and members of the subcommittee. My name is Steve Sitting Bear. I am the chairman of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. We have about 16,000 members living on and off our reservation. Our reservation exists both in North and South Dakota. Our ancestors signed treaties with the United States in 1851 and 1868. We ceded vast lands and resources so that this country could pursue its dreams. And the United States, in return, promised protection and services. The homelands we reserved are about the size of Delaware and Rhode Island combined. The United States is failing to live up to our treaties. After decades of chronic underfunding, we lack the basic infrastructure that every government needs to secure and provide a homeland. Despite all of this, we are moving forward. I am launching an agribusiness initiative to promote sustainable economic development, healthy traditional foods, food security, and food sovereignty. This includes reestablishing Standing Rock Farms and Ranch to cultivate high-value crops and manage our bison herds. For too long, most of the agricultural revenue from our land leaves the reservation. In 2022, USDA reported that there was $270 million in agricultural revenue from the two counties overlapping our reservation. USDA also reports that $47 million of this is reported as net profit. We don't see that profit. We get some value from the grazing and hay leases BIA approves, but most of this revenue leaves the reservation to benefit others. It is time for the BIA, USDA, and other federal agencies to support tribal economic self-determination. Even with this vision, we can't get the land data. We need to plan for resource management and economic development. 5 months ago, right after I swore in, I asked the BIA for the location and status of the lands we own and could use for development. I also asked for the data on land buyback. How much land was purchased back, and where is this land? I'm still waiting for that response. Our tribal council has been asking these same questions long before I took office. I'm going to show you guys something. This is a map of Standing Rock. This is the legacy of the federal government's failed allotment policies. In the late 1800s, the government divided up tribal lands into individual parcels. Our tribal lands were homesteaded by non-Indians, and some lands were taken by the government. We were left with a checkerboard of individual parcels and highly fractionated lands. Some parcels have 10, 100, even 1,000 owners. The tribe owns many fractionated interests in these lands, but we don't know where. We can't manage and plan for what we cannot see. Our staff is trained to use the federal land database TAMS, but we are still denied access by the BIA. More than 100 years after allotment ended, we are still struggling to get basic land data. We need the subcommittee to modernize BIA land management. We need realty staff with expertise, experience, and the technical resources to make our land data easily accessible. Without this basic information, we cannot achieve economic self-determination. Our hands are tied behind our back with no way to move forward. We are the best stewards of our own lands, but we cannot plan for a future while we're being kept in the dark. The United States has a treaty and trust responsibility to support the highest and best use of our lands and resources. Instead, we get failed policies and chronic underfunding. This extends to the promises the United States made to our ancestors in treaty. Healthcare is just one example. Our hospital was built in 1962. It is a 60-year-old patchwork of modular units where the roofs leak and the boiler fails in the winter. When a medical helicopter lands at night, our nurses run out into the street to guide the pilot with their cell phone lights. We need a new facility, but a building is only as good as the people inside of it. Our facility is failing, and that is only half of the battle. We are facing severe staffing crisis with nearly half of our positions vacant. We are asking for the funding to fill 265 new positions and the housing required to retain them. Law enforcement is another example. We have only 7 to 12 officers to cover 2.3 million acre reservation. As I'm speaking here today, we have officers being detailed off Standing Rock to other areas of the country. On a typical shift, we have just 2 officers on patrol for an area the size of Rhode Island and Delaware. Recruitment is a constant problem. Our recruits must travel 1,200 miles to New Mexico just to attend police academy. The subcommittee must fund a BIA police academy in the Great Plains so we can train and retain our own people. Our detention center is another example. The BIA recommended condemning our detention center 5 years ago. But here we are today, still using it at 3 times capacity. Instead of contracting to send detainees away from their families and communities, BIA should spend that money to build a safe and secure detention center on Standing Rock. Finally, the federal government's treaty commitment to educate our youth is being met with total neglect. Our Rock Creek Grant School is not safe and it's losing students. There is no fire sprinkler system, failing ventilation, and a heating system that leaves them in the cold. Part of the building is over 120 years old. In 2020, BIA rated its condition as poor, but there has been zero follow-up since. BIA estimates that we need $21 million to fix this, including $7.8 million for immediate emergency repairs. We are not asking for luxury. We're asking for a roof that doesn't leak and a school that won't catch fire. The BIA can't give us the information we need to do our own planning. Federal rules and regulations tie us up in red tape. We can't exercise the authority that every government relies on. Our lands, our jurisdiction, our funding sources, and our authorities are as checkerboarded as that map. Untying our hands should be easy, but the federal government only makes things more complicated. The administration wants to supercharge 638 contracting, but Congress won't provide the full funding that we need to take over these programs. Tribal governments could raise tax revenues, but we are surrounded by state and federal governments that tax our people, our lands, and activities on our reservations. Everyone knows there is no law enforcement on our reservations, but no one will restore tribal government authority so that we can enforce the law. Our sovereignty, self-determination, creativity, and leadership are locked. We're locked up in a maze of more than 100 years of failed federal policies, oversight, and fractionation of our lands, resources, and authorities. 50 years later, we still lack meaningful self-determination. We try to take action, but we have to navigate a maze of fractionation, red tape, and limited authority. The Standing Rock Sioux Tribe is not asking for a handout. We are here to collect on a debt by the United States. We live in the wealthiest nation on the planet. This country can pay its bills. Our 1851 and 1868 treaties are the supreme law of the land, but the United States seems to have forgotten the promises made in those treaties. It is time for the United States to make good on its word. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairperson Street.